Thursday, September 21st. I am Josh Grossman. With me, as always, Lennon, Dr. Jeff Hunt, and this is Fantasy Inception.
Good. I mean, I
That sounds nice.
could seriously be a little bit better on my fantasy team, that's for sure. But what are you gonna do? It was a tough
Yeah,
week.
yeah, Daniel Jones not helping. We should preface this by saying we have done no prep for this, so this might be a bit of a shit show, but we're here to talk shit about seven of our managers, and that's what we're gonna do. Let's start by going through the waivers, and as we go through those, maybe you guys could give me your thoughts on the RB atmosphere is not the right word, but I guess how should we be treating RBs nowadays, given that they seem to be injured or really lack that bell cow workload outside of two or three of them? You guys have any opinions?
My opinion is to go after them and use them until they fall off and get hurt. So what else can you really do in this situation? It's a shit show out there. You got to enjoy the ride.
Think the injuries to Chubb and Barkley and Eckler will make it so that next year people are spending even.
Yeah, RBs, man. What a S show right now, right? Like everybody's injured.
Do you guys think it'll affect how people draft next year, or will people just forget about it and they'll focus on the fact that CMC is a beast and Bijan is a beast and
I think
that's it?
everybody will ignore it. I mean, everybody will pay attention to it next year, except for Varanic.
So, all right, let's talk about this was a big week in waivers. So let's talk about who people got, how much they spent. Let's start with Jerome Ford, who
The big
empty,
one.
empty points spent $92. And were you guys expecting someone in the league to basically blow their load on Ford, or was that a surprise move?
I didn't think they would spend every dollar that they had, right? I mean, I certainly was expecting 60 to 70%. I put in a bid of 77. I think I was second, have being the Chubb owner and hoping to get him, I guess, at this point. But to lose the 90, what, $2, I mean, at that point, I didn't care. I didn't really want to spend 77 to begin with, but I was willing to do it. But I thought I was being super aggressive on that bid, and I lost. So, so be it. Good luck
Yeah, you
to empty
can't
points.
add 92. Uh, should Bino be afraid of Hunt, or is that signing not really going to impact this Jerome Ford's workload?
I don't think he should be too afraid. Hunt last year was very inefficient. I think Ford is for sure the one there. Hunt will sprinkle in, but I really think Ford has all the opportunity in the world to be the number one guy there.
Thousand
Yeah.
percent. I would totally agree. I mean, speaking of inefficiency, I think he was averaging 3.8 yards per carry, so less than 4 yards per carry last year, in that same role that he's going to be kind of in now. So I would not be scared if I was Jerome Ford. And even the coach has come out and said Jerome is our guy, and has not. I mean, has given him praise that he will be the man going forward. So if the coach is saying it, I'm believing it.
Last question on the Cleveland situation. Do you think Chubb, I mean, he's old, he's one of the best. So do you think he comes back next year? Where does he? I don't think he has a contract for next year, if I remember, or I think he's a big hit if they to their dead cap they keep him. So
Well, they
we're
extended
gonna
his contract. They extended his contract out, so I mean, he was kind of locked up. But this is probably. I mean, this is the second time it's happened to him. First time was when he was at Georgia and 2015, I believe.
did they
Same
announce what
knee.
the injury is to the
What's
knee?
that?
Did they announce yet what the actual injury was to the knee?
Yeah, it was like torn ACL, torn MCL, torn PCL, like dislocated knee or something like that. So yeah, it was. It's bad. I can't. I don't know if there was like any uh, like nerve damage or anything like that, which really could be significant impacts for him. I don't know. I think he's guaranteed $4 million this year, which really is sad, honestly. And he was so good. Like I don't think people realize how good he was. He was averaging over 6 yards per carry even this year
Yeah.
in this offense. And that's just to say something more about like Hunt. Like he had the same offensive line. Chubb was getting it done at 6 yards per carry, and Hunt was 3.8. So that just kind of goes to show how inefficient Hunt really is. But it's such a shame. It's such a disappointment. He was really and he was just kind of like one of these guys that just went to work,
Yeah.
quietly, and you just love to have him on your team because you knew there was going to be no drama that you had to deal with on a week to week basis. If he could play, he was getting out there. So it's
Yeah.
devastating. I don't know if we're going to see him back. I think this might be the end of his career.
Yeah, I hope not, but yeah, it's possible. Landon, you looking at the next big waiver, you spent 37 on Zach Moss. Were you unafraid of Jonathan Taylor coming back pretty soon and Zach Moss being, I don't know, Zach Moss or
Yeah, I from what
yeah,
I've kind of been reading, the people that I follow on the Twitter machine or X as the kids call it these days, um, I don't think that Taylor is going to be coming back to the Colts from what I have seen. I think he wants to be traded. So it's a gamble, but in comparison, 92 for Ford, I'll take 37 for Moss. It seems like a deal, even though I'd like
Two
to go
weeks,
back and
maybe.
maybe it's a
yeah,
gamble, but
It is
he's for I think he got pretty much every snap of that
every
backfield
touch.
last week, so
Yep.
it can't hurt to have. I mean, we'll see if Taylor comes back and kind of take it from there, but I figure he
yeah.
was a workhorse that's out there. I'd like to go back in time. What did you spend on? You got Kyron, right, last week, Grossman?
I got who?
Kyron Williams?
Kyron Williams.
I don't remember.
Because you probably got a better deal for him.
Yeah, we'll spend. Uh, any
But
other
yeah,
waivers?
just while you look, if you're gonna look that up, I mean, yeah, I mean, Zach Moss is my second bid that I put up there. I only bid $15 for him, so um,
I guess
obviously not nearly
I
as aggressive.
I got a text from Rolance the next morning that I guess he bid $36. So
Oh
I
wow,
I literally beat him by a dollar. So he
that's a
wasn't
good
too
bid.
happy about
That's a
that.
good bid then. But I do like the pickup. I do like Moss as well.
He's just lost so many players on Dynasty and in Re.
Yeah, that's horrible.
Any other waivers you want to talk about? Nico Collins was, I think, a really solid ad. Crispy, Roshan, at $9. That's a win big, lose small type of waiver, so I like that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I,
gotta make up. I gotta make up for the loss of Chubb, right? And he was kind of my third guy on my list. That I was like, I've heard a lot of positive things coming out of camp that he could be the three down back, and we see how inefficient the Bears' offense is. So maybe he's the guy in the future. We'll see. I'm
Yep.
hoping for big things.
yeah, I was tossing around the idea of just getting him and just dropping Herbert and doing a swap, but I don't want to give up on Herbert quite yet.
Well, oh yeah, Khalil Herbert. I'm like,
I
wait a
don't
minute,
think you
yeah.
should. Herbert's I think the Roshan stuff is horrible. Uh, so let's go over last week's matchups. Bryden, unfortunately, is still taking it to his opponents. Matt Finder had a very strong 124. Unfortunately, Bryden led the league there with 152. Looking at Bryden's team, do you think one of you guys tell me what you think about Swift? Do you think when Gainwell comes back, Swift is going to committee, or is he not going to lose this role?
I think Gainwell will certainly steal the goal line short yardage work. Now, in this offense, that doesn't necessarily matter because Jalen Hurts gets all the goal line work anyways. So maybe that's not as detrimental to him. But, I do think he cuts into this a little bit. We've seen Swift have big games before, so I still think they continue to kind of roll this two-headed monster at the very least. And I don't see another performance like this out of him. I could be wrong though. Maybe they saw something this past week that he looked good, obviously. So
He was just getting
Yep.
like 6, 7 yards like every time he touched the ball. It was crazy.
dude, their
Yeah.
offensive line, yeah, they were just destroying Minnesota.
Yeah, Minnesota's D was bad and tired for sure. Are you guys concerned that Burrow on Matt's side is going to be out more than I don't know, he's questionable for this week, but is he a long-term concern or a week or two more at most?
I mean, I would probably think a couple weeks he should probably take off, but I mean, I'm going against Fender this week, so I'd like Burrow to take the week off, just rest that calf up, get ready for the rest of the season, but it seems like it'd be a week or two, but it's just interesting. He obviously re-aggravated it, so do you take will a week even help? Who knows? I mean, it can't hurt, but it's a tough situation, and there's a lot of fantasy implications with that.
Yeah. Any other comments about this one, or should we look at the next match? Cool. And Landon won in another semi nail biter, 137 to 124. Bino again putting up a solid 124 in the loss. Jeff, for Landon's team,
Mm-hmm.
what did you think about Hurt's performance? Did you watch that game at all?
Yeah, of course I did. Absolutely. And I thought it's still not even his best. I mean, he stole a couple goal line carries there and on a play that we could see outlawed in the future in the NFL. I don't know, like that push from, the running backs over to try to gain the extra yards. We'll just see how it all plays out. But again, it just seems like he's either running or he's trying to hit the deep ball, and there's not much intermediate with the passing when it comes to Jalen Hurts right now. So, yeah, efficient, good game, but I think he still has his best yet to come if when he can figure it out a little bit.
Landon, for your team, Richardson's solid. He's been better than I think anybody could expect. Are you at all concerned about injuries? He had to leave. I think he left week one just for a couple, maybe one drive because of some injury, and then he got a concussion last week. Do you think his game is a little that he hasn't learned maybe how to play in that type of play and still stay in the game, or
Yeah, I mean, there definitely is some concern. I mean, his concussion from last week kind of was a more fluky play where he was tackled after he got the touchdown and he hit his head on the ground into the tackle there. But yeah, I mean, that's he doesn't seem to be expected to play this week. So I think that the coaches may tell him to be a little bit more careful, not necessarily fight for the extra yard or two, get out of bounds or whatever you need to do. But yeah, two injuries in 2 weeks is concerning. But man, he was 17 points in like a quarter. I thought like he was gonna drop like a 40 or 50 pointer. So
Yeah.
I mean, he's just been for fantasy. I mean, he's just freaking gold.
yeah. For Bino's team, what do you guys make of Ridley? He had an unbelievable week one after being off for basically 2 years almost. And then week two came back to earth a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, KC's defense is pretty decent, really. They have, um, I mean, they just picked it up from last week. They got Jones back on their defensive side of the ball, so that really seemed to help and lock up. I don't know. Lawrence hasn't really been what I expect. I still expect him to be a top 10 QB at the end of the season, but it's just been a slow start. I feel like for this offense.
Yep. Any other comments for these two teams?
I mean, I'll say AJ Brown. Certainly nothing to be concerned about, but I mean, he was kind of chirping a little bit, wanting to get the ball. So I would expect maybe a bigger week, maybe this
Yeah.
week. You know how usually that goes is guys start chirping a little bit, and then
Yeah.
yeah, he did have a good touchdown. I mean, he had a chance for a touchdown there, but was that a penalty if I remember correctly, or
Yeah,
The two plays that
yeah.
he got held? Yep.
two solid teams here. Looking at the next team, Walter takes his first loss to BJB. Cousins. I think Cousins might end up having a career year with Addison and the fact that they're decent. Is
Yeah.
he up, or do you guys think it's possible?
It's definitely possible. I think he's the number one quarterback in fantasy right now. I don't. don't have the stats in front of me, due to the no planning with this episode, but he's not a rushing quarterback, so he has to have these types of games to I can't hear him. Uh, yeah, they're passing at an unbelievable rate, so it's possible. I mean, he's got two great receivers, so it's definitely in the realm of possibilities, but he needs to throw for 40, 45 touchdowns to have a really, really great fantasy year, but seems like it's possible.
I think they've rushed the ball like 23 times this season so far in the 2 games they've played. Like, so, I mean, yeah, Cousins, if he continues to do that, he's just going to blow fantasy numbers, I think, week to week, like out of the water. And you look at who he has. I mean, he's just tossing the ball up to Jefferson. Like, why not? Why wouldn't you? Guy, it's just ridiculous. So I don't think it stops this week. He faces LA Chargers. Like, fire him up. Their defense stinks. Minnesota's defense stinks. It's a 54.5 over under. Like, this game's going to the moon. So
Oh,
wish I had a piece of this.
well, they got Cam Akers now, so it's going to be a completely
Cam Akers
run heavy
stinks.
offense now.
He
What
stinks.
do you guys think his impact is? I mean, Madison sucks. So does or has sucked. Part of it is that they haven't been running at all, but he's I think under like 2.5 yards per carry. Does Akers start eating into his job quickly and take over, or are you not concerned if you're a Madison?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Madison fits well with the scheme that they're trying to run, which is like a design zone run scheme, from what I understand. And I think this has to be the week that he has to get it done. Otherwise, they're going to start looking elsewhere. I mean, Akers isn't going to know the playbook or anything. He just passed his physical, I think, today. So he is officially a Minnesota Viking, but he won't get much run, I don't think, this week. So he kind of has to get it done against the Chargers, who have been atrocious. And if he doesn't, then he's probably on a short leash, I would imagine.
What do you think about it, Grossman?
Um, I mean, Madison has looked bad. I don't know what their scheme is, but as background, the a zone scheme, the RB has to be patient, and there's multiple options for them to choose. So it's a decision making type of position. Whereas gap is you have a gap that you're going to, and you're just going to hit it and run, and there's no decision making. Um, and a lot of teams have moved more towards the gap, which has made a lot of RBs viable who wouldn't be able to do the zone. So that's a good point by you, Jeff, on this team. I think Madison looks terrible. I also think Akers looks bad. So I think they just keep passing. And Walter's team, Pollard is the real deal. I mean, this team looks pretty loaded. Do you guys think Williams ends up putting up fantasy numbers to match his talent, or is he going to take a while before he really gets going?
I love Williams this year. I think he's just going to light it up as the season goes along. So if Walter wants to trade him to me, like I will, I
And
don't
last
know,
year,
Garrett Wilson for Williams, offering it
Oh,
right now.
I want to say something. I want to put it out there. And if you like it, you can take it. If you don't, send it right back.
okay. All right. Quickly look at the next matchup. I lost to Moreau. Watson did the Raiders. Let's talk about the two bad QBs here. Who has a better week this week, Watson or Fields? Easy
Watson
answer,
is
actually.
I mean, yeah, I think it's going to be Watson due to the matchup. He's playing Tennessee, and they are absolutely horrible against the pass. And Justin Fields, oh man, he just looks so freaking horrible. So I'm going Watson with that pick.
Yeah, like I said, man, Chris Jones came back for KC. They looked really good last year, and so I'd have to lean Watson as well. But if what Fields has come out and said about just being more instinctual, I mean, that's when he was really playing well at the end of last season when he wasn't necessarily thinking or kind of going through the process or being so robotic. I think that could really help him. So he needs to get back to that
Yeah.
instead of blaming
No.
his coaches.
Yeah, I mean, it was impressive that the coaches last year were able to pivot strategy so much and play into his strengths. It's just strange that they've gone away from it, but
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe. Do you guys think Brian Robinson is the real deal? He's been a monster the first 2 games.
Yeah, he's a steal of the draft for sure, if you ask me. I mean, I think he was a buck, right? And he was definitely somebody I was targeting. I mean, I just didn't know how legit like Washington would be if they'd be in games
And that's Steven
competing.
Gibson.
And yeah, there's the Gibson factor as well, but like, yeah, I mean, he looks great.
Yep.
And
Just
does
needed a
Chase,
couple years to heal from the gunshot wound, and he turns into a superstar.
does Chase have a comeback week this week, or do you think it's really gonna have to be whenever Burrow gets healthy?
It's not going to be without Burrow, I don't believe.
I don't
So
even think so. QB.
I mean, he's still a
I
top
saw that today.
wide receiver. You got to play him, right? You can't just sit him. Just even with what Browning or something like that, I think is the
No,
backup QB.
no. He got picked up by a different team. I don't know how that was possible, but yeah.
Yeah, Schefter, I think they tweeted it out today that they don't have another quarterback on the roster.
What?
Yeah, and they're
That's
0
crazy.
2. I'd be surprised if the force win. Last matchup. Chris was a really strong week against our very own Jeff Line. Is Mike Evans just going to keep going for Chris's team?
Who'd you say, Ike Evans?
Mike Evans. I mean, he wants out, right? He wants to either get a deal done. So I mean, this is the best way to do it to get a deal done for him, right? Is ball, right? And continue to ball. It seems like he has a real connection with Baker. Um, Baker trust him, I guess. I mean, it almost feels a little bit like the Jameis Winston, Mike Evans, combination back in the day where Jameis would just throw it to Mike Evans every single time, like no matter what. So I'd love to see a little Godwin action in there personally, but yeah, it seems like they have a real connection.
Yep, and Chris took a hit here with Barkley, and I think they
But the
said he
Bears
was
defense also stinks, so put that on. Like, take it for what you will, right?
looking at your team, Jeff. Yeah,
Yeah,
just
I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Right? Not much to look at.
You'd rather next week. All right.
Has to be.
Can't go 0-3, dude. That's getting into a bit of a hole.
I think I might. I'm facing Brighton this week, unfortunately.
I did a little bit of research. So there have been plenty of teams to make the playoffs in our league with a 0-2 start or 1-3 start. But there's only been one team going back since the beginning of the league to be, I said, in the top four, because at random years we had 6 teams make the playoffs. So in the top four playoff team, there's only one team after an 0-3 start to make the playoffs, and that was Lane back in 2015. So there's a
Wow.
couple teams that are looking at 0-3. It's you gotta get that win. You want to do Hondo's Huddle now?
Yeah, let's hit it. All right, so guys, I like this week. I think I'm expecting another big week out of Puka, Nakua. I mean, he's going against Mike Hilton out of the slot. He's allowed 6 catches on 7 targets. So I mean, imagine what he's going to do when he sees 10 targets come his way. He's probably going to let up 9 catches or maybe more. So expecting another
15
big week
targets.
since he's defense has just been atrocious this season. So they got to get it figured out. CD Lamb, I really like him. So that's my guy this week. I'm hoping for a big game out of him. Arizona stinks. My only concern is do they play him all 4 quarters because they're going to be up so big, right? But he's going to face either Jalen Thompson out of the slot or Marco Wilson on the outside. Again, Arizona, they're no good. So continue to target them. I like all the Chargers I had mentioned going against Minnesota. I like all the Vikings going against the Chargers this week. This game's going to be an absolute shootout in my opinion, or I'm hoping so. I think it'll be a lot of fun. But yeah, expecting a lot of points to be scored there. Zay Flowers actually going against Dallas Flowers. Huh? That's kind of silly. Who's allowed 6 catches on 9 targets. Or he's going to see Kenny Moore, who's allowed 9 catches on 10 targets. So either way, like, Zay Flowers has been an absolute beast. I mean, they're clearly trying to scheme him the pill,
Yeah.
get him the ball in this offense. They trust him. I heard that he's very comparable to Steve Smith. As a very comparable trait in the way he plays. Doesn't necessarily have the size yet, but I think he'll get there. Stephon Diggs facing a rookie, Emmanuel Forbes. Actually, Emmanuel Forbes was drafted 16th overall in this year's draft. So, but the NFL, it's one of these things where they like to pick on rookies, especially rookie cornerbacks, and he has been torched. He's allowed 120 yards in 2 games this season. So, next guy I like, St. Brown. Love him. Going against D. Alford out of the slot for Atlanta. He's allowed 9 catches on 9 targets this year. So if he just gets peppered, I think he'll have a big week. And then I guess if Atlanta's playing from behind, probably cue up Drake London. He's going to face Jerry Jacobs for Detroit, who has allowed 11 catches on 15 targets and 2 touchdowns in 2 games. So guys I'm not high on. Thankfully, Bryden has this guy Tyreek Hill. Now we know Josh McDaniels moves all of his guys around. Mike McDaniels, right? Moves all of his guys around, but will most likely, find himself in shadow coverage against Pat Surtain. So that means on the other side, though, a guy I like, Jalen Waddle, if he plays, we got to keep an eye on the injury status, right?
He's probably not going to.
Okay, well, he's going to have a nice matchup against Damari Mathis, who has allowed 3 touchdowns and 186 yards in 2 games this season. So,
Woo.
yeah, cue up the other side.
Man, I hope Waddle plays.
The Pats wide receivers against the Jets D. That's just a void all around. Actually, the Houston wide receivers, believe it or not, going against Jacksonville. Their cornerbacks Trey Herndon and Tyson Campbell have both allowed less than 10 yards per completion this year. So I'm not a big fan of the Houston wide receivers this week. Marquise Brown, he was going to be going against Trayvon Diggs. I had this all lined up here, but he obviously tore his ACL today in practice. He's only allowed 2 catches on 8 targets, so he's having a great season. But now he's going to most likely go against Stephon Gilmore on the other side, or I guess Stephon Gilmore will move over and face Marquise Brown. That could open things up for Moore a little bit more, but I'm actually really liking Ertz this week for them. And then Romeo Doubs going against Marshawn Lattimore. He's only allowed 3 catches on 8 targets and had 1 interception this season. So I don't expect much out of Romeo Doubs. Now, if that's Christian Watson, if he comes back, it could be a bad matchup for him, and maybe you fire up Doubs. So something to pay attention to. That's all I got.
Good stuff. Appreciate it as well. All right, let's look at the week ahead. We'll start with first place Bryden going against 0-2 Jeffrey Hahn. Not looking good with Daniel Jones, but there's still time. Who's going to win? Landon.
Sorry, Gio, it's not going to be you.
Jeff,
I give myself more of a chance than what Yahoo's projecting right now, but I don't. Unfortunately, I was looking. Trevor Lawrence has had terrible games the last 3 games that he's played against Houston. I was looking at this, I'm super excited, hell yeah, Lawrence going up against Houston. He's had 0 touchdowns in the last 3 games that he's played against Houston, believe it or not. And,
no QB, good or bad, ever has a good game against Houston because their run defense sucks.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
In Jacksonville, but Jacksonville's also lost their starting left tackle due to IR, so that's not good for a quarterback either. So,
do you guys think Puka keeps it up this week?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, if Puka.
But this is not a long-term solution. I'm sorry, I don't believe it is. I think this is until Cooper Kupp comes back. I mean, Puka's had kind of an injury history, to be perfectly honest. I think playing out of the slot, Cooper Kupp's going to fit right in that role. Tutu, he'll probably split some time with Tutu Atwell. They'll kind of go in and out because Tutu's been pretty well too. They can't just say no, you're no good. We're keeping Puka in there, So I think it'll be a little. I
think Van Jefferson might be the odd man out there, but
maybe.
Who is a Puka owner in Dynasty?
Who drafted him with the last pick of the draft? I don't know, or second to last pick of the draft.
Hey,
who's this guy?
3rd rounders can matter, man. What a steal.
Most should keep it up until he gets injured eventually.
Absolutely. He's going to be injured tomorrow. Surprised he hasn't been injured yet.
For the Chargers, assuming Eckler doesn't play, does Kelly have a bounce back game? I think he played against Tennessee last week, so that
Yeah, Tennessee's
tough.
got one of the best run, if not the best run defense in the league. So, yeah, Minnesota's a much better matchup for him.
Please just let me get a full share of. I need Kelly. Like I need 20 carries out of him this week to have a chance.
Well, I'm not going to say that you win, but I wish you won.
Thanks, man.
I believe you were in second look at your rematch against playoffs defender. And he's got some
Playoffs?
decent game thus far from Debo. If Waddle doesn't play, who are you going to play?
Yeah, I'm kind of probably will throw Pittman in there is my guess. But yeah, probably Pittman or Zach Moss. So we'll see.
No.
Yeah, I'm Waddle's probably not going to play he didn't practice today. Richardson didn't practice today, so that's it's not great, Bob, to
How are you? Not great, Bob.
lose those two guys. So it'd be
Yeah,
an uphill battle.
Who wins this one?
I'm going to go Fender.
I mean, he doesn't. He's not going to have Burrow this week. I don't think Burrow's playing. So who's he fitting in there? Stroud. Ugh.
Yeah. Who's looked good for a
I
rookie.
actually still like Child Please in this one.
Yeah, I don't. My running back situation. I got Alvin Kamara coming back next week, so if I could, not that he's the savior of all saviors, but I'm happy to get him back because my running back situation's not ideal.
I mean, New Orleans could certainly use him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fuck you, Grossman.
My team against Dino's empty points.
Ooh, we got a good matchup so far.
Mm-hmm. JSN has seen the second most targets tied, I think, with Metcalf. I saw a stat earlier that he has something like 4 yards average separation on his targets or catches. So he's doing a good job. Do you guys see him ever putting up some actual fantasy points, or is it just too wide receiver?
I don't like it. I mean, I think it's the wide receiver room, and in addition, they're just a run heavy team first. I mean, run first team offense mindset, you know. So I don't think he's going to be that good this year until they get a better quarterback in there and a new head coach maybe. I mean, Pete Carroll. Just till Lockett leaves, I guess then he's going to be decent.
Yeah. I agree.
Good still. Looking at Bino's team, do you think Hawkinson puts up a monster game again?
Yes.
Do you think Ridley puts up a monster game against Houston?
Like Geoff mentioned, probably not.
I'm hoping so, but I don't think so.
Would you guys rather play Ford going against that monster Tennessee defense, or Hall, who only had 4 carries going against New England, which is a good defense in their own right?
Yeah, I'll take all the touches with Ford and just hope that something works out, but I got to see it from Brees Hall before. That Jets coaching staff is just, they're idiots. Like, they not watch the first week? He was electric. He looked so good out there. And they give him four carries last week. Like, you can't put a guy with 4 carries in your lineup.
Who wins this one?
I actually like you, Grossman.
Oh, I like you too, buddy.
I'm going to go with...
But I'll take Bino's team. I'm kidding. I actually like Grossman's team.
Oh, good.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah, I'm going to go Grossman as well on this one. No, change my mind. Bino.
I'm gonna go Bino as well.
Wow.
Which one didn't we tackle yet? 70?
Crispy taco.
Yeah, crispy taco.
Crispy taco we haven't done?
Nope. Well, we haven't done that one either.
And BJV.
Yep.
Hold it down. Hold it down.
Yeah.
Crispy. Kind of disappointing, only 9 points with the San Fran defense. But should we have it? Game's not over. Looking at his team. Jacobs? I mean, I think everybody kind of knew that Jacobs missing the preseason. He was going to be rusty coming out the gate. Does he get started in week 3, or what's your hope for him?
No, I think he certainly does. I mean, yeah, you're right. It hasn't been a great start to the season, but now he has Pittsburgh, who is allowing, on average 6 yards per rush. So I think this is, I mean, CMC destroyed him, Pittsburgh, in week 1, and then Chubb was just destroying him in week 2 before he went down, right? And then Ford destroyed him for over 100 yards. So the Pittsburgh defense hasn't been good. I mean, they just sit back in a zone scheme like a freaking nickel defense. They do have a good pass rush, you're right, but that doesn't stop run,
Yep. Walter's team, I mean, it looks loaded.
Jacobs is, I will say this, Jacobs is the number 3 running back for receiving yards.
Team or in the
league.
Really?
Amongst all RBs, yeah.
I think Jalen Warren's up there too.
He's
who I
number 1.
scooped up.
Yeah.
Najee sucks.
I like Najee.
Yeah, not much weaknesses on Danz's team. I mean, Mike Thomas, I don't know if he has much upside, but we're getting a little nitpicky.
Yeah, he's very much he's going to score 8 to 9 points, but then if he gets a touchdown, it's a great game for the rest.
Yeah.
Would you guys rather play Ertz, who's just a target hog, but it's against Dallas, or Goddard instead of that?
I'd play Ertz. I mean, Goddard has. Let me think. Let me look here. Sorry, Goddard has how many? 8 targets in his first 2 games. 3.7 yards per catch this season.
Yeah,
3.7 yards per catch. Like, that's terrible.
Yeah,
I saw something too, and I probably should have looked into it more because I have Jalen Hurts, but they were saying that he may not be. Did he have shoulder surgery or something over the off season? Possibly.
What?
injury he got.
They're saying he possibly wasn't fully.
I mean, that was his
healed from
injury
that.
before. Yeah, it was his injury before he went into the Super Bowl and stuff like that.
Yeah, so that might be playing a factor in the guy, for everything, really. I mean, he hasn't looked great, Hurts, but sorry to go off track a little bit, but it's kind of with Goddard.
The QBs who had the amazing offensive coordinators who have now moved to be coaches elsewhere, like Shane Steiger, who was in Italian, is now in Indy.
Yeah.
And then Josh Allen's old coach, now Jones coach. They haven't always looked as good, so it's interesting to see. It gives you confidence in Daniel Jones and Richard team for sure. Who wins this one?
I'm going to go with Danza.
Yeah, Dan's All-Stars.
Yeah, I agree. All right, what's the last one?
BJV, Big Tasty.
Hit it. Let's hit it.
Ooh, Waller not having a good game.
Waller, which is kind of a surprise that he's been so slow. But he's got Cousins, Mayfield.
Just be happy he's not injured yet.
Which one? Who?
Waller.
He's got Eckler in his lineup. I mean, Eckler's probably not going to play this week.
That's
He's
true.
got ETN, though. He's going to have a big game. Bijan, been outstanding.
Bijan looks amazing.
Oh, my gosh. So good.
I would probably go with...
Gabe Davis.
Yeah, because I think he needs a little bit more upside in that flex spot to kind of compete with Moreau a little bit. So, yeah, I would go Gabe Davis.
Yep.
I mean, I think Madison's going to have a big game. Again, 55 points being scored in this one. You got to hope that Madison gets one of those. All it takes is one pass interference call, be down the goal line, and then they give it to Madison and let him chug it in.
Yeah.
Yeah. The thing is, Cousins never gonna 1 yarder. From Moreau's team, is this the week we see Gibbs go off, or is he gonna be in that same sort of role even though Montgomery's out?
I think he
mean,
plays kind of the same role. From what I've been kind of hearing, what's his name? Craig Reynolds is seemingly going to take over the Montgomery role, but Gibbs is a type of player where he's never going to be a workhorse. So I think he ran, I forgot the stat, but whatever the amount of snaps he was in, he got an opportunity on 50% of them. So he had 9 targets. So I mean, it's a big game is coming, and it's probably going to be this week.
Who wins this
I don't know. I mean, you're spot on. Reynolds is. I mean, you see what happened last week. Montgomery went out. Reynolds came back in, and he had the bulk of the workload, right? So I can't buy into Gibbs just yet. But yeah, he looks electric. The coaching staff doesn't want to get him the ball, I guess. Yeah, same thing happened with Swift. I mean, he looked dynamic. They didn't give him the ball.
Yeah, very strange to use that ball pick on him when you use him like that. Who wins this one?
All right.
Yeah, I'm going Moreau.
I got to go. Yeah, I like Moreau's team. Yeah, Kelsey's going to probably have a monster game. Gets the Bears.
Oh! I like it.
All right, guys. Any last thoughts?
I need help. My team.
Try your best out there. Really just put the effort in. Set a lineup for heaven's sakes. Brighton.
Not this week, though. You can not set a lineup this week.
All right. That'll do it for us. Tune in next week so we can talk more shit. And good luck, everyone.
Good luck, everyone, besides Fender.
Baby, are you down for real? I get worried when I'm not with you. Go and tell me how you feel.